afterwards. I think every single one of us, at least once in a lifetime, has asked this kind of questions. Usually, such deep questions invite topics of religions and God or evolutionism and scientific naturalism. Indeed, atheism versus theism is one of the biggest intellectual rivalries and going for centuries. I, who has been studying theology on academic level for approximately 1.5 years and engaging in debates and discussions with people of various faiths, am going to bring you a logical argument for the existence of an entity. Not God, but a cause of the universe. My first premise is the following. Everything that begins to exist requires a cause. Everything that begins to exist requires a cause. So there is a cause, there is an effect. Effect requires a cause, quite frankly. But you might be hyper skeptical like me, but this thing is too elementary. I challenge anyone in this room to bring me anything that begins to exist, to demonstrate anything that begins to exist and doesn't have a cause. You'll not only debunk my argument, but you'll get a Nobel Prize. Why? Because it's impossible to do so. I don't want to disappoint you, and therefore I'll bring you one and only alternative to this. And that is nothingness. Either effect is caused by something, or effect is caused by nothing. Some of the atheists like to say that the universe and everything within it came from nothing. We evolved from nothing. Nothing is the cause of everything. Now, I'd like to explain why it's more absurd than believing in a sky daddy. Indeed, I will make it more simple for you and put it in abstract. But before that, what is nothing?
Absolutely.
The concept is very simple. Nothing is the absence of everything. Nothing is the absence of anything. Now, whether nothingness has a capability to give a rise to something, produce something, I will simplify it. Can 0 equal 1? What if we add 0 to 0? What if 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0, and if we go infinitely, will we ever get 1? No. Mathematically, it's impossible. Now, why it's more absurd than believing that nothing can cause something? Nothing simply doesn't have an element to give a rise to something. We can even doubt about its existence because the absence of everything, not to mention its capability to give a rise to something. 0 plus 0 equals 0. From nothing, you will only get nothing. But from something, you might get something. Now, if you're with me so far, my next premise, I will take the causation and apply to a more specific case, our universe. My next premises are the following. The universe began to exist, and therefore it requires a cause. Deductive reasoning. Some of you might have heard about the expanding universe, which is actually which is the consensus of the contemporary scientists. There are plenty of empirical pieces of evidence. I will mention the most significant ones. The first one was introduced by one of the most prominent astronomers during the mid-20th century, Edwin Hubble, a person who could convince Albert Einstein himself regarding the finite expanding universe, and that space-time is not a static entity, but an ever-changing one. His evidence is called redshift of galaxies. I will explain in more simple language. Redshift is basically the increase of the wavelength. The light emitted from the galaxies, as they travel through the space to reach our planet, the distance between the galaxy and our planet is increasing. And not only that, the galaxies are stretching. It was a mind-blowing discovery during that time, and we can still observe it. Well, you might say, maybe the galaxy just moving away through the space, is stretching through the space, but here is the beauty. The space itself is stretching, the space itself is expanding. How do we know that? The only way scientists study the space is by observing the effects that it causes to various cosmic properties such as matter, antimatter, light, and so on, so forth. Not only the galaxies are stretching, other properties within them are also stretching, and even the light itself, as it travels through the space, is stretching. This is how we realize that the universe is expanding. Having said that, there is another evidence which points out to the starting point of the universe. It's called cosmic microwave background. We were able to detect them with technological advancements, particularly radio telescopes, very sensitive radio telescopes. This thing is also not difficult to understand. It's basically the electromagnetic radiation which is remnant from the early stage of the universe. So this evidence is used to show that the universe had a beginning. It fills the space entirely, and as the universe is expanding, the temperature is reducing. In the early stage, the temperature of the universe was extremely high. And it points out to the Big Bang theory, which basically tries to explain the origin of the universe. So basically there was a singularity at the beginning, and there was explosion, and our universe was born, and everything within it commenced to develop, starting with helium. We can go further. In 2012, the most prominent space agency, NASA, launched a project called WMAP. They were able to measure the expansion and establish the age of the universe. Now, contemporary scientists not only embraced the expanding and finite universe narrative, they're now able to study its origin. They're able to measure the expansion itself. And this is a 2019 article published by NASA. It's very recent date for a field of science. Basically mentions that our age is approximately 13 and 7 billion years old. Quite fascinating, right? And it's not just a hypothesis. All of these are not theories. They're actual observable things. We can still observe them, just like the shape of our planet. And if you were to accept these pieces of empirical evidence, then the conclusion will be very simple. It's more reasonable, more rational to believe that there must be something rather than nothing behind the universe that has a capability to cause what it caused, has an incomprehensible power to cause what it caused. Whether it's called dark energy, or Allah, or Yahweh, or Krishna, it's a totally different topic. Whether it's uncaused, whether it has certain attributes, whether it tried to communicate with us, are totally different topics. The only way we can answer these questions is by educating ourselves. Learning, indeed, is a lifelong process, and we should never stop seeking knowledge. Thanks for your attention.